Hello, hello, hello. And if they copyright me for showing that, I'm gonna read them right at because it's definitely fair use. Because we need to talk about the man who was in the film. Welcome to Late Night with LANCEY with my good self, the Inside Man, and Adam Gray is also here. I've literally invited anybody, any of my fellow YouTubers, to come on this for a short time to say what they. Let me just get my mic a bit closer. That works better, doesn't it? To say what they think about Gene Hackman, maybe a favourite movie or two. Myself and the Inside Man did a stream about Gene Hackman on his birthday 3 weeks ago, practically today it was, and that came about as a result of us just happened to noticing it was his birthday, and I said, let's do a stream about him. Let's not wait for him to pass away. Let's talk about him while he's alive. So we did that, and we picked 5 films each that we talked about in no particular order, just 5 of our favorite films of Hackman's. And we had 2 of the same choices, which was Get Shorty and Mississippi Burning. And then my other 3 picks were No Way Out, Crimson Tide, and Hoosiers. And Inside Man's other 3 picks were The Conversation, The French Connection, and what was your 5th one?
Oh, do you know what? Was it No Way Out?
You may have picked No Way Out as well. Maybe we had 3 in common. Actually, I think you. Do you know what? I think you did. I think you did pick No Way Out as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. You did. That's right. I remember. So of the 5 choices, we had 3 in common because we didn't tell each other our lists beforehand. Welcome, Adam Gray.
Oh, thank you, Lance. It's been too long.
Yeah, buddy. It's. I think I've probably been on your channel since last time, but the last time you were here was ages. Seems ages ago.
It's a sad occasion, but good to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, when I heard the news earlier today, I was extremely upset. I knew that news was going to come this year because I thought 95, he's up there.
Yeah,
you know, he's not gonna hit the 100 because he's an actor. You know, actors go through quite a lot of crap. So I knew that would be the case, but I think it's the circumstances though, and the news that's come out now is suggesting that he and his wife may have been dead for a couple of weeks.
Oh no!
oh
no!
I'm just catching up on the details right now. Apparently, there were some pills involved.
From what I've heard, from what's come out, and you know, I don't want to obviously speculate too much, and we'll keep the focus more on the guy, on the man. But it sounds like because they found him in position consistent with him having taken a fall, and it's in one room, and it sounds like he took a fall and maybe passed away, and then his wife was found in a different room with an empty bottle of medication by her side, tablets scattered around her, and the dog that died had died next to her. And then there were two other dogs found alive at the property, which is that bit is a bit odd. But piecing that together as it stands on the surface, it would seem to suggest he had an accident. He maybe died from the fall. Perhaps she was overcome with grief and loss and decided to take her own life. And again, this is pure speculation. It's not carbon monoxide. That's already been ruled out. They have already stated publicly that was not the cause of death, and the gas company have checked and so on. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, the dog was in the closet. You're right. The dog was in the closet, which is weird. That's weird. I mean, because if it was some sort of suicide thing and maybe one of the dogs was old, shall we say, you wouldn't lock the dog in the closet, would you?
I don't know what circumstance would get you to do that.
No, that seems odd to me. So I'm wondering if it could have been something else could have happened, some sort of home invasion that went wrong or something like that. He got attacked, and then maybe they tried to make it look like a suicide.
No.
And the dog was locked in the closet. Maybe the other two dogs are in a different part of the house. It's difficult. I mean, it's
We'll have to wait and see.
yeah. Don't want to, as Brian says, don't want to speculate too much, but it is just really weird. Bill, I do remember Poseidon Adventure gets a massive mention in my book, and that is the film that made me follow Gene Hackman's career. That's the film that, you know, got me all excited about filmmaking and acting, you know, because I thought he was just such an incredible actor. But good to see some new people in the chat. I think we've had a couple of people come over from Open Bar, plus there's a load of regulars. Snorter Poopus is here. Superman. Is that how Walked a Brain like yours gets its kicks? By planning the death of innocent people? Lex Luthor. No, by causing the death of innocent people. Yeah, that's a good good line from that film. And we've got Easy Peasy Lemon Squeezy is here. Haven't seen all of his roles, but I really enjoyed his performance in Mississippi Burning and Unforgiven. Yeah, we talked about both of those films in some detail.
Well, it's not shocking news, but the
No.
way it seems to be playing out is a little bit disturbing.
Yeah, it is weird, isn't it? There is something weird about it.
I remember there was a kind of a popular meme with a picture of Gene walking to go get his own coffee in his pajamas or something like that. And
all right, yeah, I remember that.
yeah, and my take on that was like, oh look, a millionaire that walks to go get his own coffee. There's nothing weird about that.
Yeah. I
Just
mean,
a nice man out for a walk.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, you know, the fact that he could go out for a walk in his 90s, you know, was said a lot
can
about
only
him.
hope.
What, Atom? What were do you have a particular standout role or movie of his that you go to or gravitate towards when you think of Hackman? I mean, I know there are many to choose from, but you don't have to narrow it down to one, but maybe, you know, a couple of your faves.
Well, it's actually pretty easy. The first time I was aware of Gene Hackman was Superman. I saw it in the theater as a young kid, and that was the first time I recognized Gene Hackman. You know, playing Lex Luthor. But as I got older and I learned more about cinema, you know, the French Connection. I mean, there's so many great roles. But yeah, he'll always be Lex Luthor to me, and he absolutely slayed that role. Absolutely slayed it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll always be able to say, without a doubt, he was the best thing in Superman 4. You know, but then he was probably the only good thing in Superman 4. He'd probably hate me for you're mentioning that. I'm teasing, of course.
The gravitas of this man, the presence that he brings to the screen, just absolutely shines through the celluloid. I mean, he was a presence.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the one thing that I talked about. Inside Man talked about his eyes and stuff, but it was his charisma and his presence and the weight he had. You know, he was like this force.
Yeah,
he didn't have to do much, and he could go from a warm smile that meant this is an ally in a scene, like the image that we have on him now, maybe suggesting that, and just with a slight more turn of the grin or a little bit of a change in his eye, and you know, this is then suggesting to you this is a man who is your enemy. This is a man who is not to be fucked with.
Not to be fucked with, and maybe not to be trusted.
Yeah, and he was so good at just doing the bare minimum with his face to suggest one or the other. I can't think of an actor with the same versatility as Hackman. As much as I love Michael Caine, as much as I love Sean Connery, and they've done great, iconic, amazing parts. Neither of them were in the same league as Hackman, even though they both did a better job than him.
And not just a heavy, but if you look at Young Frankenstein, his performance in that is incredibly on point, incredibly detailed. And unless I'm wrong, they actually delayed some filming for that film until that Hackman was available. He said that we absolutely have to have him. He's the guy.
I'm sure he's delayed more than one film. Waiting for his available. Let me just read out this super chat, Inside Man, before we jump in. Darth Plato for $20. Thank you very much, sir. Extremely generous.
Bless you,
I saw Superman in the theater in '78. I think I did, along with Chris Reeves. Do you mean you went with Chris Reeves to see Superman, or you mean you? I think you mean you saw Superman with Chris Reeves. Gene Hackman is one of the earliest memories of theater. Reeves' accident and death really bothered me, and now Hackman. Thank you guys for doing this show. Yeah, no problem. Much appreciated.
Cheers, Darth.
Of course,
he's a lovely guy, Darth. We love Darth.
Darth, we will see you when we resume the Shield stream, and may indeed have space for you on Spartacus as well. I will let you know. Yes, Hackman did serve in the military.
Yeah, as a Marine.
He got into acting quite late compared to some. He started acting in his 20s, briefly in California, where people told him he was shit and he should quit. Went to New York, where people told him he was shit and he should quit. And that just drove him. To succeed.
It's interesting because earlier on I was talking about the Friedkin Connection book that I've got that Galen Hurd had recommended.
Yeah.
I finally got to the French Connection part, French Connection chapters, and what's interesting is that, I mean, he wasn't the first choice for Popeye Doyle. He wasn't even a choice for Popeye Doyle.
Who was the first choice for Popeye Doyle?
First choice, believe it or not, when I watched Joe the other night and mentioned it on the Nielsen ratings.
Yeah.
I looked at Peter Boyle and I thought, my God, he would have been a great Popeye Doyle.
Yeah, I can see that.
And believe it or not, that was William Friedkin's first choice of Popeye Doyle.
Right.
Was Peter Boyle, but Peter Boyle turned it down. He said he loved the script, turned it down. But he was pressured into taking Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman didn't want to do it. He wasn't interested in the role at all. Friedkin had said that he didn't even know whether he was going to turn up from one day to the next because he was that disinterested, and he kept saying, you should fire me. I don't want to do this role.
He kept saying he wasn't right for the part as well.
What he said was that he didn't believe that that he could play Eddie Egan, who the Popeye Doyle was based on. And because it was Sonny Grazzo and Eddie Egan, the two original cops, the Roy Scheider and Gene Hackman characters. But he said he couldn't play Eddie Egan. He said because Eddie Egan was a racist. He said I can't use that kind of language. I just can't do it. And he said, well, you're going to have to do it. He said, you're going to have to use my script. He said, and you're not going to stray from the script. And he said, I can't do it. And they, on the first day of filming, had this big scene, the guy in the car, the two leads, and the guy in the car between them, and questioning him, and he has to slap him around the face, and he couldn't hit the guy. So they looked at the rushes the following day, 35 takes, I think Friedkin said that it was.
Oh my God!
And they looked at every take, and they said, and the actors were present at the rushes, watching the rushes, and and he said it's terrible. He says absolutely terrible, and he took Hackman to one side, and he said, why can't you do it? He said, I'm restricted. He said, I need to do what I can do. And then he said it was a light bulb moment. He said, I'd been trying to treat these actors like they were actors on my Harold Pinter adaptation of The Birthday Party. sticking
Right.
to the script very, very rigorously. He said, I
Sure.
didn't give them room to breathe. He said, and once they had room to breathe, especially with Hackman, um, that was it. He just got into the role. But what he had to do, because he was still quite rebellious and quite repellent of this character of Popeye Doyle, um, he had to get to him. He had to get under his skin every day in order for Hackman to play the role. He had to get under Hackman's skin personally. A little bit of personal abuse going on between them, a little bit of
Mm.
unpleasantness between them in order to get him into the role. And he said
Wow.
every time you see Hackman really losing his shit, those were the days where I really got under his skin. He said that's when you know that I was under his skin. And
Interesting.
Hackman described it as trying to find the mouse within the elephant. He called it.
Right.
He said I had to try and find the mouse within the elephant, and he put it all down to his rebellious nature against authority. He put it down to his father. His father was a very overbearing character, very quite an abusive character, and he just rebelled against that kind of mentality, that bullying mentality, and always he was very anti-authoritarian. And it's funny mentioning that he was in the Marines, that he was in the military prior to doing the French Connection. When he was a doorman at a hotel in New York, and his former commanding officer was getting out of a limousine with a beautiful young woman going up the stairs into the lobby of the hotel, and Gene Hackman turned his back as if he was doing something else, and the commanding officer tapped him on the shoulder and says, "Hackman, you're a fuck up, and you've always been a fuck up, and you're never going to amount to anything." And he
Oh,
said that was another one of the kind of motivational things that he had. He always kept that.
Mm.
He not that he bore a grudge, but he had those things in the back of his head from something Lance was saying earlier about his theatre days. That would never
Yeah.
become an actor, never become a good actor, to the military, um, and um, and to his father. But bear in mind, when he was training as an actor, he was rooming with Robert Duvall and Dustin Hoffman,
Yeah.
and by the time he did French Connection, they were already big names at the time, um, and he was desperate to get a decent role, um, and he took $25,000 for Popeye Doyle for the French Connection.
That's
$25,000. That
quite a
was it.
good paycheck back then, though, wasn't it? It's not bad. I mean,
Apparently not.
it's not top.
Apparently not.
It's not what a star would have got. But
No, no.
he wasn't a star. So
That's right. He
yeah,
wasn't a star. He'd been in a couple of bits and pieces, but it was even back then considered very cheap, very
right.
very cheap.
just above scale, I'd think. Yeah.
Yeah, and he, bearing in mind the budget was only $1.5 million. It was
Right.
$1.5 million for the French Connection.
Damn.
I wonder
Um,
how much he got paid for French Connection too. I bet it was.
uh,
I bet it was quite a bit.
considerably more. Yeah,
Yeah, I bet it
yeah.
was quite a bit. Um,
But yeah, this was the movie that put him on the map, and this was definitely the movie that put him on my radar.
Yeah,
And for that, I'm absolutely, eternally grateful for him, giving us this incredible piece of work. I mean, it was obviously
if
with any film making, it's a collaborative process.
if
Um,
anyone listening or watching this hasn't seen the French Connection, go watch it right
yeah,
now.
I mean,
yeah,
and actually do a double bill. Watch 1 and 2 right after each other because that's a
yeah.
great double
I
bill.
I
That's up
I,
there with Godfather 1 and 2. For a good double bill.
I tell you what I would suggest. I would suggest French Connection and the Seven Ups, the unofficial sequel to French Connection.
All right. And then French Connection 2.
And then French Connection 2. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because the budget for the second film was 4.3 million. I'm going to guess that Hackman for the second movie would have got paid somewhere in the region of
26,000.
No, I was going to say 300,000.
Inflation.
200 to 300,000. I don't think he would have got a million.
25,500.
No, I reckon he probably got about 350, something like that.
Yeah, good will.
350.
350.
Yeah, because he was. I'm not sure. I know. Was he Oscar nominated for this, or did he?
But well, before we get into that, let me just welcome my expanding number of guests, because we've had people join while you were rightly talking very fondly of
rambling.
Mr. Hackman. Not rambling. He was talking very fondly of Mr. Hackman. We now have Blue Collar Crew Cut has arrived.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Good to see you.
What's up, Blue?
Admiral Teague has just beamed in as well. And we also have Proctofile along with myself, the Inside Man, and Adam Gray. This is the most I've been able to rally at short notice in quite some time. So,
well, it says a lot about the person we're talking about. That's why.
Absolutely right.
It does. I'm going to give everybody a chance to speak because I like to try and give everybody equal time on my. We don't let one person talk for 45 minutes here. So. Blue, as you've experienced. So Blue, do you want to say a couple of words about maybe a favourite Hackman movie or role of yours? I'll tell everybody just before you answer. You don't have to pick. You don't have to say this is my absolute favourite. You can just talk about one that you really love. But as I was moderating Open Bar tonight, on in the background, I went to put on Crimson Tide, which was not that long ago available for free on Amazon. Now it's chargeable, but I have the DVD, so there you go, physical media. So of course I got it.
Long live physical media.
Yeah, so I got it out of my and I used to have a VHS. I used to have a VHS widescreen of Crimson Tide. I remember when widescreen VHS was a thing.
Yeah,
and I had like Crimson Tide, Last of the Mohicans, and a load of other kind of like big movies on widescreen, Star Wars, a couple of other things. But yeah, so Blue, what would have been one of your go-to faves?
Yeah, recently because of our friend Lord Toxic, we mentioned we did a rewatch of The Quick and the Dead, and it's always great when you take an older film you haven't seen for a long time. And I watched it when I was a teenager, and man, just again, great cast: Russell Crowe, Leonardo DiCaprio, Sharon Stone. But for my money, Hackman, his villain is fantastic. Every scene he's in, he steals. And Lance and everybody on the panel, very few actors in my lifetime. I'm young compared to some people, but I cannot think of in my lifetime a single bad Hackman performance. And he's one of the guys where he may not be in the best of films, but even like bad films, he just like Denzel, he would elevate. I cannot tell you a single bad Gene Hackman phoning it in performance. I just can't.
No, he very rarely phoned it in. I mean, he may have thought he was phoning it in Hoosiers and was grumpy every day that he turned up. It's still one of his best performances. I'd like to welcome film director Matthew Holmes to the channel. Great to have you,
guys.
Hi, Matt.
If we enlarge Matt for a second, check out that hat. Look at that hat.
Look at the DVD collection.
Yeah, I want that hat. Yeah, the Matt's Blu-ray collection is phenomenally huge. In fact, I bought a few of those for him.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, you can't beat physical media.
Absolutely.
And there's plenty of Gene Hackman in there.
I think I've got more movies of Gene Hackman's than any other either director or actor, that I bought because Gene Hackman was in it. I can think of at least 20 films in my collection. I don't know if I've got 20 films I can subscribe to someone else, maybe the Bond movies, but apart from that,
he just doesn't give a bad performance, like Blue Collar said. Just he could be in a bad movie, but he won't be bad in it.
I think, like me, I think you also watched. You stuck Crimson Tide on, didn't you? Recently, Matt.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a regular watch, that one.
Yeah. What else? What would be another as a director? What would be another go-to Gene Hackman performance or character for you that you think?
I don't think you can get past Unforgiven. I think that's probably one of the most complex and interesting things he ever did. He's both funny and terrifying and vulnerable and human and monstrous all at the same time in that movie. It's so complex. It's great. It's, and I read an interview with Hackman saying that he initially was going to turn it down because he said he doesn't like violent movies or something, but he did it because, Clint Eastwood and so on. But it's just one of his defining performances. And for a guy that doesn't like violent movies, he does it so well.
Yeah.
He plays the villain so beautifully.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard somewhere that he was originally auditioned or considered for Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, wow.
Really?
That would have
been I don't know how credible that is, but I've got a mate of mine who's big into Gene Hackman and movies, and he reckons that he was one of the people in line for Hannibal Lecter.
If he'd played Lecter, it would have been really similar to the Doctor he played in that Hugh Grant movie, Extreme Measures. That would have been.
Oh, yeah.
His Lecter would have been like that character, but with kind of more of an evil side.
Yeah, I think Hopkins was right for that part, but he would have done something interesting with it.
Yeah, sure, for sure. Unforgiven is a great one. Actually, when we were talking about our 5 favorite Gene Hackman movies, the reason I didn't pick this one was because it's not a film I would say I rewatch every year, because it's quite a hard, gritty, sort of difficult movie. And then it's also, you can definitely argue Hackman completely steals the film, but it's not Hackman's story, it's William Money's story. So that was why I didn't pick it for one of my 5 Hackman films, which were Hoosiers, Get Shorty, Crimson Tide,
Mississippi
Burning, and No Way Out were my 5 picks.
Yeah. Mississippi Burning I only watched for the first time about 2 months ago.
Oh my God.
I hadn't seen it before. And massively impressed with Gene in that one, because he was a sort of a good guy, and I was not used to him being good, but it's great to see him be good.
The scene between him and Frances McDormand in that film, when he's kind of sort of, it's almost this seduction that goes on between them, but at the same time it's like these two people that you can see they're almost soulmates. They should be together. They found each other in the most horrible of circumstances, and they're kind of falling in love in the process of the investigation. And he has that scene with her where she is sort of, you can tell she knows something, and he's subtly trying to get it out of her. It is that scene is an acting masterclass between the two of them. It's so well done. I saw that at the first screening of it in London. Again, this is another film along with Unforgiven that gets a mention in my book, and that was a film where you could have heard a pin drop in quite a lot of the different scenes, really I can't believe you only saw that a couple of months back.
I know it's just one of those ones that all those years just sort of slipped by me, and I was always sort of got to get around to that. So just because I didn't catch it in its day, and so then it became one of those ones I had to catch up on.
Proctophile, do you want to shout out a particular movie or role of Gene's that stayed with you?
Well, there's nothing that comes to mind that you guys haven't already gone over.
Oh, mate, there's plenty of choices left, man.
Well, yeah, but like you guys have already picked the best ones.
We've cherry picked the top.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but
what's a movie that he's like a really terrible movie that he's good in?
Superman. Well, Superman 4.
Superman 4 is probably the worst movie he's in.
Yeah, those were.
He must have been just contractually obligated.
Oh yeah, but again, I recently watched all 4 of those. I'm like, was 3 and 4 as bad as I remember as a kid? Because as a kid, I loved them all. I was like 10 years old. Now I'm like, oh god. But yeah, even the Superman 4, at least him and Christopher Reeve were trying their asses off. Like, it wasn't their fault.
Yeah.
He wasn't contractually obligated. That was during the period where Canon would just get actors on the basis of, call their agent. Okay, we're paying him $4 million. He's got to turn up for a week or whatever.
Yeah.
So they would offer stupid, silly money, so the actor couldn't say no, because Stallone's agent turned them down and said, you haven't got enough money to pay Sly for 3 movies. And they said, how much do you want? And they said, whatever it was something ridiculous, like $30 million or $40 million. And the Canon guy just got his checkbook out and wrote the agent a check and said, there you go, right, Sly's doing 3 movies with us.
Jesus.
Wow.
And they made 3 terrible films. Welcome, Barbara Lawrence, to the Outcast Creative. We've got a big panel now. Thank you for coming on.
Hello. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm happy to chat about Gene Hackman all day.
It's
such a great actor.
Yeah, it's a sad day, but as Inside Man said to me earlier, it's great that this incredible body of work, and it is incredible,
yes,
will be around forever. And you could spend a whole year probably going through his stuff and watching great things, not necessarily, as someone mentioned earlier, loose cannons. Thanks, Scotty. Great guy, Scotty. I've been on a couple of streams with him. And then of course we have Superman 4, very bad movie. Welcome to Mooseport. Wasn't that his last film?
I don't know if it was his last film, but it was not well received.
It is his last film on his IMDb.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think, but we associate that with Russell Crowe, right? Isn't that he's going to play the New York Rangers in like Alaska or something? That dumb?
No. This was Welcome
Ray
to
Romano.
Had Ray Romano.
Ray Romano, Moritini.
Okay, I kind of remember that one. I was just looking at how many titles he had.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
Yeah, I mean he's got. I mean the number of films is phenomenal. I think this picture of him on the set of Welcome to Mooseport probably sums up his feelings at the time of being on that set.
Oh dear.
Inside Man's an extra in this shot, as you can see.
Yeah, as you can see,
Chisel backside.
So that if you look further into the shot, that woman's feet are in a very unfortunate place, aren't they? Between that man's legs. Anyway.
One crazy scene. What town is this?
This is what
Mooseport.
Exactly.
Perhaps I need to watch this movie. I don't know. Loose Cannons apparently has one of the lowest ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, or even potentially the lowest rating.
Yeah, Lance, we'll do a watch along, but bring alcohol.
Yeah.
I bet you he's still good in it though.
I mean, I bet he is.
I've heard this one said. Has anyone heard this said that the most starring roles during the 1980s went to Gene Hackman? He was in like the most movies every year. Like sometimes he's a co-star, not often the lead, but I think he might have had like top 3 billing in the most movies throughout the 80s or something like. It was qualified only a little bit of qualification on that.
Surprised me at all.
I mean,
he's in like 4 or 5 movies a year from like 1980 to 1990.
I'll tell you what, we'll have a quick look at that. And see,
there's a real glut from about 78 to about 95 when he's just you couldn't make a movie without him in the late 80s.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, all of you that are on, you need to check out Matt's film, The Cost, when you can see it in your respective territories. It's kind of like a Coen Brothers Blood Simple kind of movie. And then if you ever want him to come on your channel and talk about it, I'm sure he will. I've just put him on the spot while he's here.
I'll be happy to chat about it.
Yeah, he's
now you're committed.
My new film does come out in Fear Below does come out in the UK. For those of you that are in the UK, it comes out, I think, like May. So
this is the shark movie.
Yeah.
Matt, yeah, so Matt's also made his own version of Jaws. Unfortunately, Gene Hackman is not in it. But
yes, I tried, but he had retired.
Lord Toxic says, "Are you going to do a poll top Hackman performances?" I'll tell you what, that's a great idea. Let's do that. So, if you do a Facebook poll, right, you can only do. You've only got 4 choices that people can vote for. That's the maximum that you can do. So if we're gonna pick 4 Hackman performances, Matt, I'm gonna guess you would say that Unforgiven has to be in there.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
Well, you would also have to include then, I think, the French Connection, because he won an Academy Award for that one as well.
Oh yeah, that has to be in the top.
Yeah.
Is it top 5 or top 10?
You get 4.
No, we only get to put 4 choices. I think we have to put Unforgiven and French Connection.
Yeah.
And then we've got 2 spaces left. So
I'm going to nominate Jaws.
Superman.
Jaws? Not in Jaws. Gene Hackman is not in Jaws. That's Roy Schneider.
I thought it was.
No.
That's Roy Scheider.
No.
And Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah. That's Dreyfuss. Superman. Yeah,
I got a lot of homework to do there.
Superman. I think that's an iconic role of his, isn't it? Superman.
Yeah. And I would say Crimson Tide.
Yeah, you know what? I think Crimson Tide is a good one. Because
his captain is fantastic.
That is a good one. So okay, so we're going with Unforgiven, The French Connection, Crimson Tide.
Get Shorty.
No, that's it. That's it. Yeah. Just those 4.
I'll give an unofficial 5th. Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Well, you know what we need to do? We need to do a special night like with the big chart, which is the ultimate Gene Hackman performance, and then by some weird quirk of fate, it might end up being loose cannon.
Siphon all the polls down to 1.
Scotty in the chat has a correction. Hackman actually played the shark in Jaws. So
yeah,
fair play there.
We just didn't notice.
His name was Bruce.
Scotty mentioned that. Well, I think Unforgiven at the minute is in the lead with 40% of the vote already. So
this is last really huge role, right?
Yeah. Dan Candy says, whoever said Jaws shouldn't be on this panel. I think it might have been.
Yeah, you
might
can
have been
kick
Barbara.
me out if you like.
Me?
No, of course it wasn't.
How dare you?
There's no one's getting kicked off. Yeah, so let's go back to while that poll is percolating. Let's go back to that question about what roles. What was he getting all those roles in the 80s? I'm curious to see. So. Loose Cannons was 1990, so that was a low point where he was not getting everything because I don't think he would have taken it otherwise. Although there was a lot of cop
I think taking everything is part of why he had that Leonard Nimoy outlook. I will take any role.
Yeah.
Unless I'm offered more money for another one.
He started off in 1980 with Superman 2, although the majority of his scenes would have actually been shot when they filmed Superman because they were shot back to back predominantly.
Yeah.
Then he had All Night Long, Reds in 81. No
Academy
credits.
Award-winning best movie.
No credits.
Reds is such a fantastic.
Yeah, Reds is. I've rewatched it recently. It's pretty good. He had no credits in 82. Eureka, Under Fire, Two of a Kind, Uncommon Valor in 83. So that's 4 films in 83.
That's why he has no credits in 82. He's working the whole year.
He was working the whole year. Yeah.
He didn't have a minute to. He didn't have time to pay. He had to schedule that.
Between 82 and 83, he probably shot those 4 films. One
look, in 77, he's in a movie with Bilbo, March or Die.
March or Die. Yeah, that was all right. One that often doesn't get mentioned a lot is Under Fire. I can highly recommend this movie. And you've got a very young Ed Harris, still bald, in the film.
Joanna Cassidy.
Yeah, it is a really good movie.
Harrison Ford's gonna blow her away.
I mean, it's the true story of this journalist that was assassinated killed by soldiers during, I think it was the uprising in Nicaragua, or the last things going on in Nicaragua and all of that, before the president, the corrupt president, left.
It says Dateline Nicaragua above the slug line of the movies poster.
So I'm correct then. I'm glad I remembered that.
It really narrows it. There's only about 8 countries in Central America, right?
Matt, if you don't
South America, that's huge.
If you don't have this film, mate, in your collection, then yeah, I highly recommend it.
Music by Pat Metheny. It's got to have a rocking soundtrack.
That one. That's not something that's very valuable here in Australia. I don't know if I've ever actually seen it for sale in Australia.
Yeah, you can definitely get it on DVD because I've got it, but directed by Roger Spottiswoode. So,
great director.
Great director.
It doesn't. I mean, I've not seen it in the Blu-ray shelves here in Australia. We don't get everything here, so anything like that you have to send away for. I've
never seen it on Blu-ray. So he's got two credits in 85, 2 credits in 86. Best Shot, which is also known as Hoosiers, is one of my favorite films of all time. No Way Out is definitely one of his best performances in his career, without a doubt.
I think it's an underrated film.
Very underrated.
Bat 21's the underrated classic to me.
Well, we haven't got to that yet. If you haven't seen No Way Out, absolutely recommend this movie. That's another one that should definitely be in your collection, Matt, as well. Really good film.
I've seen it, but I haven't got it again, and not another one that's very easy to find in Australia.
Yeah.
We kill another replicant in this one.
Gene Hackman should have been nominated for Best Actor for Crimson Tide, not Best Supporting Actor, because him and Denzel Washington were the co-leads in that film.
Yeah.
He was not.
Yeah, he really wasn't a support, was he?
No, he wasn't a supporting actor in that movie, Leroy.
Lilo Brancato is the supporting actor, probably. Or George Zunda.
Yeah, so Bat 21 is another great movie. Sadly, didn't get a cinema release in the UK, but I rented it as soon as it came out on video. And,
I don't know this film.
This is another one that I recommended to Drinker that he did a special video on.
He does some really good acting. There's not a lot to this movie except his really super strong performance. He's shot down in North Vietnam, but he's a pretty high-ranking officer. So it's much more important than usual that he gets away. So it's not that he's dishonorable or anything like that. So he has to get away. He's on like a emergency radio with Danny Glover. They're never in the same place, I don't think, at any point in the movie. But his call sign's Bat 21, and they're helping him find his way slowly back south so they can effect a rescue. Because if they catch him, they're gonna mess him up and get a lot of information from him. He's got operational information.
And it's based on a true story. And Matt, again, another one that should be in the collection.
Sounds good.
That's our military strategy in Vietnam. Just send out the top guy so he could get shot down.
So he can get
might have played into why we didn't do so well at that war.
So then another one that doesn't get a lot of press, which, I mean, I was really lucky to see it on the big screen because I went to a film festival, looked at what was on, saw there was a Gene Hackman movie, which is also how I was at the very first screening ever of Mississippi Burning. And the package was on, and I thought, oh, and I quite like that Tommy Lee Jones. He was in that Black Thing Rising or whatever it was called.
Were we even alive for the first showing of Mississippi Burning, if you really think about that?
Well,
let's not go there. Right, so
I was.
If you haven't,
where were you?
I'm not past kicking people out on here. So if you haven't seen the package, this is set during the Cold War. Hackman is bringing back Tommy Lee Jones from East Berlin. He's a soldier who's conduct unbecoming, this kind of thing, but he's not really a soldier. He's an assassin. He's being brought back into the country to carry out a specific coup d'etat, so to speak. Hackman gets caught in the middle of it. It's another film that he did with Joanna Cassidy. They're particularly good together in this. It's got some great action scenes. Tommy Lee Jones is really good. It was really the first meaty role I ever saw Tommy Lee Jones in. There's Dennis Franz from NYPD Blue. Guess what he plays in this movie?
A guy with pants on?
Is it a cop?
A cop, yeah. So, but it's a really good film that not a lot of people have seen. And again, Inside Man, when we did our Hackman stream on his birthday just 3 weeks ago, this was one of the films I talked about. And
Yes,
again, I put it straight on and thought I've got to watch it again. So I've watched
Great
it
film.
just a couple of weeks ago.
Great movie.
I'm planning on this is probably one of the films I'm planning on showing to Drinker when he comes down for a drinking binge film weekend, because he hasn't seen it. So yeah, and Matt, another one for you to add to your list of I've got to find the Blu-ray of this.
Yeah, that's never been available here in Australia.
No, I don't think
I've never seen it. So
I've only ever seen it on DVD.
Yeah, and I don't buy DVDs anymore. So unfortunately, it's a lot. Hopefully, they'll give it a 4K, or there'll be a renewed interest in.
That is a much less cuddly version of John Hurd as one of the kind of the bad guys in this movie. He's very different from his character in Home Alone. So yeah, if you want to see John Hurd play a pretty nasty villain. But yeah, it's a good film, good action scenes, really tense last 20 minutes. So Admiral Teague has counted 22 releases from 1980 to 1990. So that's 22 films in a decade. That's pretty good.
And he missed a year there, you said, too. So, wow. But
yeah,
I think we figured out all he was doing was working like crazy that year.
Yeah, basically. So it would seem. Yeah. So
what a tragedy.
I mean, to be honest, I am surprised he lived as long as he did. But it does sound like he probably had it's difficult to know. He may have had a fall at home.
No, the dog and his wife also succumbed. I believe they all succumbed to carbon monoxide. Will be the ultimate finding.
No, that's been ruled out.
Been disproven?
No, that's been ruled out.
3 people, 2 people and a dog just out of nowhere, and it wasn't something in. This is now mysterious too.
Well, that's why they've actually issued warrants to go in and search the house.
Yeah, it's
that is horrible.
Because the gas.
It's horrible to hear.
The gas company went and did all the checks, and they ruled it out. There's no because it was the daughter that put that out. But I think that's just because that's what she thought had happened.
If your heater itself is bad, it could actually generate CO2 without it being leaking from the thing. They've eliminated that as well.
They've definitively said it was not carbon monoxide or anything, or gas or anything similar.
The power company has investigated themselves and found no wrongdoing.
I think the weirdest thing is that if he did die from a fall and then she was overcome with grief and decided to take her own life,
what happened to the dog?
How come the dog was locked in the closet? That's what makes no sense to me. The only person that would lock or force a dog into a closet in another person's home is a person who's not supposed to be there.
Is this completely official, or is this something?
No. It's official.
These are coming through legitimate,
fast-moving information.
Yeah. There was an update that I posted about. In fact, we can watch it quickly. I can put it on.
Can they do a megaplastic blood test? I guess they could. Yeah, they could rule out carbon monoxide just through blood by now.
Yeah, I mean, and they've been dead. They've been dead for a couple of weeks as well.
Wow, that's even more shocking.
Because she was already in a state of decomposition.
No, they both were.
Well, they both were, but she was up against a space heater, so her decomposition was pretty
accelerated.
That's
the word for it.
Too soon to say, guys. We'll have to wait and see.
I mean, I think there'll be obviously over the next 48 hours there'll be a lot more information,
for sure,
coming out. And that as Steve says, another weird thing is that there were 2 other dogs found on the property that were alive.
One was outside, so
right, okay, so one was outside the main building. I just think the thing about the dog being shut in the cupboard is the thing that bothers me. Shut in the closet, rather, because if you're gonna top yourself for overcome with grief or whatever, but you're also a dog lover, I don't think you would deliberately kill your dog.
No.
Unless
maybe they thought they were sparing it and they were just not in their right mind at all. Well, whoever, if this was done intentionally, it was not done by someone who was thinking rationally, right?
Yeah, I mean, who can say? I mean, but you got 3 pets there, so I don't know. All of that just doesn't really make sense to me. I'll tell you who did post about it. Actor Randy Quaid, who I don't know the man, but he posted on his official Twitter. Hackman is the highest earner in Hollywood of inside man. What do you call it? That when you get regular payments on
residuals.
Yeah, he earns the highest amount of money on residuals than any other actor.
Well, it's because he was been in everything.
But
he spent the entire 80s doing nothing but film work.
It's not just that. He had a good agent who had contracts with his films, where he would always get, like, he did a lot of films for a lower fee, but he would own a percentage of the property or whatever, a bit like what Jack Nicholson did with Batman. So, for example, Crimson Tide, when that got released on VHS, he would have got more money. When it got released again on DVD, he would have got more money. When it was released again on Blu-ray, he would have got more money. When it went to streaming, he would have got more money. And he probably had at least 30 films in his back catalogue where he had a similar deal like that.
That's the smart income. That's the smart way of earning money.
That's costing the studio
when films did
quite a bit. I mean, would somebody kill for that? I don't know. I think we're getting into real we're getting into real weird conspiracy territory if we go down that road. Matt, do you have any thoughts on that from Down Under?
On what in particular?
Well, just on potential cause of death. You're a dog lover yourself.
Oh man, the amount of theories that have been going through my head all morning since hearing about it. It doesn't make. I've got so many theories, but I don't know. But I guess being a filmmaker, you come up with stories, and so there's all these different scenarios. Which partner went first, why they did it. Why was it a pact? Was it one of the partners doing it all of a sudden out of grief? Was it an accident? And then it's just. And I only know what you guys know from what's sort of drip feeding into the media.
From official sources, he was found in a position that looks consistent with him dying from a fall. That doesn't mean that he wasn't physically assaulted and died, of course. Yeah. I sincerely hope that was not the case.
But of course, we still have what the police had said. They said that there is absolutely no room for speculation of foul play.
They said that at the beginning, but they've ruled that out now. Now they've officially said it's suspicious circumstances. They've changed that. That's their official line now. Is they've opened an investigation. It's suspicious circumstances. So
I think there's just too much unknown at this point. So I'm sure whatever they're going to turn up as they go in is going to reveal. Also, it might be really simple and obvious, but it could be nefarious. Who knows?
If your bodies are in different rooms and they're partly mummified, i.e. they've been there for at least 2 weeks, one of them is a dog shut in a cupboard, why would you immediately go out to the public and say there's no suspicious circumstances, and then, of course, 8 hours later you've got to correct yourself?
Media does.
The daughter mixed up the daughter threw some confusion in there when she made those speculative comments, which makes you wonder. Although honestly, did any of us not think that first when we heard 3 people all at once, like, oh god, another terrible tragedy?
That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah,
There's a lot.
I didn't see Hackman and his wife being the sort of people that would do some kind of mad pact. It just didn't.
Perhaps he fell, and in her grief, she was, like you said, overwhelmed, or took some dark course of action, and but like in her deep grief, she thought the best thing was that the dog not see it or something, like not thinking straight at all, like just to give her the benefit of the doubt. I'm sorry that I can't stay longer, but
no, that's okay, buddy.
Well, I could have said a couple of movies to get thrown off the panel, like Poseidon Adventure, but
before you leave, let's bring it back on track because I really want to talk about his films. And we haven't mentioned the Poseidon Adventure. Do you just want to talk about that quickly?
I will say that he put in a strong performance in a movie that was very much of a genre. We had been doing disaster movies over and over and over. Young Rowan Emmerich is taking notes somewhere. And, we get this movie where, it's got kind of everything going from the 70s, right? We have a split screen sequence. We have a pretty good song. We have a decent tragedy. We have a fallen holy man, and none of this stuff should have worked because it was ham-fisted at us in an only okay movie. And they're throwing one, big name star after another at us. I think these people go on to make the Airplane series of movies because how many boats can get swamped, right? So I thought that in a movie that was less than the greatest, he put in a solid performance. And the guy who quietly thinks his way out of the terrible situation by remaining calm has always been a great movie. And look, there's a fellow Academy Award winner right next to him. So we had the acting power for a kind of a weak idea, the Rogue Wave, and I guess we all remember the captain's Leslie Nielsen. So
yeah.
It was, a powerful performance in a not so great movie. The story of a professional journeyman actor who brought his best to every single performance, and he'll be missed. He'd been retired for a while, but he'll be missed.
I have to say, by the way, that I think Poseidon Adventure is an absolutely awesome film. So I've got to disagree.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I've got to disagree with you there a little bit, mate. Hackman definitely makes the film, but the film has fantastic special effects. It has a really good score by none other than John Williams.
Yeah.
You've got a pretty good supporting cast with Ernest.
It's very much of its time.
It is.
I admit it's been a while on that one.
Yeah,
it may be better than I'm giving it credit for.
It's one of the first disaster movies as well, Irwin Allen, because you had Towering Inferno came out 2 years later in '74. Inside Man, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say what I was going to say was just have a quick moment to think which movie isn't of its time.
Well, come on now.
Which movie isn't of its time?
All period pieces.
There's no movie that's made whether they're made as period pieces or not. They're all movies of their time, really. I mean, I have no problem with much older movies, and I get no problem with the different styles of acting that have gone on through the years. But this I actually really do think it's a very, very good film. I think it's a well-crafted film. Art direction is absolutely fantastic. As Lance said, the special effects are absolutely superb. Great miniature effects. When we used to have
great practical sequences,
great practical sequences, amazing stunts. I mean, the sets are just fantastic. Fantastic.
Considering the limitations of the era as well.
Exactly. And this was real filmmaking. This is back to an era where, when we have real filmmakers, really crafting movies with physical properties. There's nothing CG or blue screen or green screen there. There's nothing. Obviously we have the miniatures, but these are real practically made movies, and I love them. I genuinely love these movies for what they are.
I would watch the Poseidon Adventure or Towering Inferno, and I did. I watched them both on the same day about a week ago.
Yeah.
Over that new Roland Emmerich Moon movie disaster film,
Moonfall.
The Moonfall. I mean, I would watch these 20 times more each than I'd rather watch Moonfall once again. Yeah. Because it's just this massive CGI mush fest. And don't get me wrong, Emmerich's done some great stuff. I'm a big sucker for Independence Day. I really like it. Great big cheesy movie with some wonderful new pioneering effects, a good mix of practical model work and all that. But they've just got too into this CG. And how many times have we seen some big wave breaking up Los Angeles, or earthquake or tornado breaking up Los Angeles in about 20 movies now, and it's just so fucking boring because it's all CG and it's just really, really naff. It is better than The Last Jedi. You're right.
It's certainly a case of, we have all the bells and whistles, we have all the tools to do absolutely anything that we can, and we will. Just because you have those tools, you don't have to use everything. You don't have to throw everything at the screen.
But you do have to write a compelling story.
I was just about to say exactly that. It's everything to do with the writing.
That's where the weight comes from.
That's where everything comes from. Everything will stem from that story. Well-written story. You know, it's very, very difficult to make a bad movie from a good story, but it's very easy to make a bad movie from a bad story.
Yeah.
You know, you can't make a good movie from a bad story. You can make a good-looking movie from a bad story, but you can't make a good movie from a bad story.
Does anybody else want to mention a different Hackman film? Maybe that we haven't given a shout out to. So Poseidon that's definitely a good one.
I do enjoy Poseidon Adventure. I'm just gonna throw my 2 cents in here. It's for the sort of macabre storyline that it follows. It's a fun watch.
It is a fun watch.
It's so much fun to watch the Poseidon Adventure. It really is. It's one of my favorite Gene Hackman movies.
And he's so good in it. He's such an empathetic hero.
Yeah.
Such a good everyman, you know.
I did mention earlier that Young Frankenstein is quite possibly my favorite Gene Hackman. It may not be my favorite Gene Hackman movie, but I love him so much in this film.
He's absolutely precious.
He's absolutely precious. It was nearly the entire thing was improvised, and he has two lines in that short scene that are just the most quotable, precious things to me. One is cigars, which is just so perfect. He's so pleased with the fact that he could share a cigar with someone.
Yeah.
And the second is his exit line of, "Wait, I was going to make espresso," which was totally improvised by him at the time. And Mel Brooks was so tickled by it, he just left it in. And I think that says a lot.
When
you can get Mel Brooks to be tickled by you, I think you've hit something.
And when you can get the right actor to play against type and make magic like that, it's just absolutely lightning in a bottle.
It's golden.
I mean, one of the things we haven't talked about much is just how great he was at comedy. And he did so many.
He had
I know I'm going to get done for copyright here, guys, but we're going to watch a clip because we just have to. It's got to be legit. Come on, man. So,
who is this? It depends. Who is this?
Who is this? This is the one telling you the way it is. Okay, asshole? Oh, you want 300 grand or don't you?
What 300 grand are you talking about?
The 300 grand a guy named Leo DeVoe scammed off an airline. The 300 grand a Chili Plumber now has in his possession. Hello? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I just don't like this anonymous crap. It means you're either a big chicken shit or you're not for real.
Trust me, I am very for real.
Okay, then, so who are you?
I happen to work for Harry Zim, all right?
Who?
Harry Zim, the man happens to be a major Hollywood player.
I never heard of him.
Maybe that's because you've never been out of fucking Miami, dipshit. Maybe you ought to get on a plane, come out to LA, take a meeting with Mr. Zim.
Okay, so this Zim guy, what is he asking for? A finder's fee or something? Is that what we're talking about here?
Hey, Zim don't ask for dick. Zim tells you the way it is, or else.
Or else what?
Or else use your fucking imagination.
And then when he
it's so great.
And then when he turns up and he's like, "Who are you?" "I'm the dipshit." Bang! Smacks him in the nose. It's just so
great.
Yeah, we talked about Get Shorty 3 weeks ago because 3 weeks ago it was Hackman's birthday. And Inside Man and I just spontaneously decided to do a stream about him, and let's talk about our 5 favorite films. And we both picked Get Shorty in our list for the comedy one. But he also, I mean, he did Birdcage, he did Royal Tenenbaums.
Of course, yeah.
Does anyone else have a sort of a favorite comedy role that Hackman did? What about you, Blue?
I'll say Heartbreaker is funny as hell, but it's like I can't more of the makeup job because he looks so disgusting and he's so greasy and like, you know, all decrepit with the pockmarks on him. But it's like it's more like Sigourney Weaver playing off him, and also Jennifer Love Hewitt. But he was okay in that one.
Jennifer Love Hewitt was in her prime in that film.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
From what I remember, and kind of, you know, gave people a heart attack in the cinema. Probably gave Gene Hackman a heart attack.
Yeah,
because that's when they're like the swindling mother-daughter couple, aren't they?
No, I think Heartbreaker it's a funny movie, but he's like the bad guy comedic part, but I have to rewatch it again because his performance is interesting. He's so gross.
What about, does anyone got love for the Royal Tenenbaums? I've only seen that movie once, you know.
Yeah, same. I don't really recall it that well. I saw back in its time.
It's oh, Matt, what's the name of the filmmakers who did the movie? It's the guy who did Life Aquatic, Steve Zissou, and
Wes Anderson.
It's a Wes Anderson movie, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
and his films are kind of like, I think they're an acquired taste, and then also even within the realm of Wes Anderson, you've got movies of his that you like, and then there's movies of his that you don't like.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think Royal Tenenbaums was one that I watched and thought, not really sure I kind of care about any of these characters, so I don't want to watch it.
Yeah, no, I didn't really get it.
But Gene Hackman was good in it. I do remember that.
Well, yeah, he might be a bad film, but he won't be bad in it. So
no,
he'll always brought his A game.
I mean, a lot of people say that one performance that maybe wasn't that great of his was Bridge Too Far, where he did the Polish accent. People got any thoughts?
Do you know what? Looking at it again recently, I know everybody, and including myself, has sort of had a few little jokey words to say about his pronunciation of, you know, the Germans and general and all this kind of stuff, you know, using the hard G. But the Polish do use a hard G in, you know, when they speak. So they don't use a soft G as a J. So they do use a hard G. So I think my criticism really of that performance was perhaps a little bit. I maybe went a bridge too far on that one.
Funny.
Apologies, but I again, I mean, you watch him, and he's such a compelling actor. I mean, this is the mark of a great actor. And in that movie, there are so many great actors that you absolutely cannot take your eyes away from. And he's certainly one of them. But as Matt was saying, I mean, he may have been in some, you know, a couple of duff or crummy movies, but there's no question that whether he is or not, he doesn't put in a bad performance. And it's exactly the same, a very, very similar way of looking at Richard Burton's career. I mean, Richard Burton has been in some bad movies, but he was never bad in those movies.
Shall we have a brief look at that amazing new mega cut of A Bridge Too Far that's out apparently? What I've done is I've see how it goes into this scene. So I've edited shots from 6 other movies into a mega cut of Bridge Too Far, and by doing that, I've been able to cover a whole load of other stuff in the battle that wasn't in the original film. So there you go. So when you get the fleet arriving, they're arriving over all 3 cities at the same time, and it's a lot more dramatic. And I got to have real fun with it as kind of almost like directing my own movie.
It's the full market garden experience, isn't it?
It is the full market garden experience, available on limited edition Blu-ray. See me round the side of the alley. Cash only.
Yeah.
Cash only.
Yeah. No checks, only notes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, one day I would love to hire a cinema out for my birthday and show that version of the film. That would be so cool. Probably only be me, Matthew, and the Inside Man there, but that's
still worth it.
That's fine. What about have people has anyone seen some of his like either earlier, more obscure films, or like I mentioned, The Package, which is a really good one that a lot of people haven't seen. I just wondered if anyone can think of, another cracker that he did this film called Downhill Racer with Robert Redford in 1969. I still haven't seen that properly. I'm guessing it's about skiing, as there appears to be lots of shots of skiing clothing and skiing and snow. And I think it's about Robert Redford being some kind of downhill champion, and Gene Hackman's either his coach or his sporting. No, I think I think they're both on the same team, but I'm not 100% sure. But has anyone seen that movie? Is it any good?
No, I've never seen it.
Leroy Peters has mentioned Extreme Measures with Hugh Grant. If you haven't seen that one, that is worth seeing. That is worth seeing. Yeah,
it's a good mention. That.
Yeah, I saw it a long time ago, but I think that's a what's the author's name? The guy who wrote based on the book.
It could.
He did a lot of his books were turned into a lot of movies in that period.
Right. So he did pretty well.
What's his name? He did like The Client.
Oh, you're talking about John Grisham.
Yeah, it's a Grisham adaptation, isn't it?
Oh,
you're talking about The Firm. You're talking about The Firm. Yeah,
Firm is also a Grisham adaptation, but isn't Extreme Measures also one?
No, I believe it's an original story. I believe
it's an original screenplay, which
I'm thinking of that other one. Yeah,
you're thinking of the one that's not the original screenplay. But it's Hugh Grant and Liz. What's it?
I'm thinking of the one, The Chamber. Yeah.
Oh yes,
Chamber. And I think that was with Al Pacino. But they set up their own production company specifically to do a feature film, and they had this role of the Doctor. And I saw Hugh Grant being interviewed, and they started talking. So who should we get? Who should we approach for the Doctor? And somebody said, well, we need someone like Gene Hackman, but of course we'll never get Gene Hackman. Well, we can ask Gene Hackman. So they asked Gene Hackman, sent him the script, and he said yes. So, just go
right.
That you
Sometimes it works.
Yeah, this is an interesting still from a movie that I have seen, but I haven't seen it in quite a while, with James Coburn. Sometimes when Inside Man has no hot water at his house, he comes round and we converse like this.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, so obviously I get to have the brush though. But this is Bite the Bullet from 1975 with Coburn and Hackman, a Western. Anyone remember it? Anyone seen it?
No, I don't. I'd be interested to see this though. Now,
no, but I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I remember this scene clearly. Yeah.
You do remember it?
Oh yeah.
How do you rate the? Can you tell us the basic plot? Do you rate the movie?
No, I could not. I remember watching it on TV when I was much younger.
When you were a wee whippersnapper.
Yeah, when I was a wee.
What in the world got you to sit down and watch a Western?
A Western with two men in a bath.
So. Yeah, I was saying, I'm so confused by this setup.
Naked men, I guess.
It was the male nakedness that.
No, but it's just the setup that's confusing me. Like, why would you ever have two bathtubs right next to each other?
Well, they did in some bathhouses. That was quite common back then.
Bros being bros.
Well, yeah, but like the first thing that came to mind was like in The Brothers Grimsby, where Mark Strong and Sacha Baron Cohen are just taking a bath together.
Well, I'll tell you what, I want to see this movie now because I'm a big fan of Westerns.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm sold on this still. and I'm a big James Coburn fan as well.
Yeah,
so
me too.
yeah, so there we go. Different angle.
3-bet.
So I have to run.
That's
I have
actually
to
4
go on
in
another
a
call.
row.
Matt, you got to duck out, buddy.
I do. I got to jump on another call, but I do want to give a little honorable mention of a Gene Hackman performance, which I've really enjoyed and have come to enjoy more and more. He
Go
wasn't
for
the main character, but Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
As their compadre that joins the group. I just thought it's like his 5th or 6th film or something.
I think it's might
It's
only
very
I think it might
early
be
in
his
his career.
second or third major role in a feature film.
Yeah, but he was just really, really full of energy, and it was just great. And it was quite a few years before he sort of launched out with French Connection. But even then, just seeing him in that young, Gene, you just knew he had something.
Yeah, I saw that on telly when I was quite young, and it was at that time it was the most violent film I'd ever seen. Especially the ending. But you're right, Matt. He's really good in it.
He is great. So if anyone hasn't seen Bonnie and Clyde, and Gene Hackman's, it's worth watching just to see a very young Gene Hackman.
So Matt, when's your Fear Below movie coming out in the United States? Do you know?
May 2nd in the US, and I think the UK will be on its heels. So
very good.
I think Signature Entertainment is releasing it, though I haven't heard when yet. So
for anybody who wants to check it out, the trailer for The Cost is on YouTube. I normally
are you talking about The Cost or Fear Below?
No, I'm talking about the trailer for The Cost, which is the film you made in lockdown, which is
right. I don't know when that's coming out in the UK. We're sorting out some issues with that at the moment. Hopefully it won't be too much longer. But
that's a great movie that you guys will definitely need to watch. I can heartily recommend it. Leroy has never seen Hackman in The French Connection, and he didn't like him in Unforgiven. That's it, Leroy. You're banned.
That's a
hard customer there.
Well, I don't like his character in Unforgiven. I really didn't. But
you're not supposed to like him, to be fair.
That's the point.
He does a really amazing job. And I'm pretty picky about my Westerns, and Unforgiven is up there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let Matt go.
Crown jewel of the genre, I think.
Matt, listen, buddy, great to have you on as a guest, especially on what's kind of a historical for people like you and me who love film and love and know our actors. This is quite a day.
It is one I felt was sort of imminent and coming up because of his age, but when it lands, you're never quite ready for it.
Yeah. And also the weird circumstances of it.
I'm going to be keeping an eye on that very closely, as I'm sure millions of others are too.
Yeah,
Matt, I think we're going to see you again, also wearing that hat, because we're going to do a Crimson Tide / Hunt for Red October.
That was going to be our next thing, wasn't it? So when we do that, and we'll be focusing a lot on June.
Yeah, well, you keep inconsiderately getting hired on movies and going out into weird desert locations where there's no internet.
That's right. So working 14-hour days doesn't give me a lot of time. So
no, but mate, we'll sort that out. Probably do it on a Sunday. So if you've got a Sunday free in March, let me know. Kind of around this kind of time. We'll start a bit earlier than this, obviously, but similar kind of time to when we started today, but maybe like an hour earlier. Me and the Inside Man will do that with you. All right, wicked.
Yeah.
Thanks, bud. I'll see you soon.
Yeah,
such a good guy, and definitely, guys, you want to check out the trailer for The Cost. It's
just on
YouTube. I think you've seen it before, Blue, because I've shown it to you, right?
No, but I actually did find it on Vudu, so I'll buy it this weekend.
Yeah. So. Bonnie and Clyde. I'm glad Matt brought up Bonnie and Clyde, because that's another film that I own of Hackman's. Actually, do you know what? I am curious to see how many films of Hackman's do I own a physical copy of. I'm going to guess that it's at least 30. Should we have a look?
Wow.
So Right. So there's all his early kind of that's all the feature film credits, FBI and The Invaders and stuff like that. Wow, he was in an episode of The Invaders that I've got to see. I do like that show, The Invaders. Okay, so I have physical copy of The French Connection. So that's 1. Poseidon Adventure 2, Scarecrow 3, The Conversation 4. I do not have, don't shoot me, but I don't have a physical copy of Young Frankenstein. French Connection 2, 5. Doesn't mean I don't like it. I just don't have a copy of it. Bridge Too Far 6. Superman 7. Superman 2 8. Reds 9. Under Fire 10. Uncommon Valor 11. I did have Target, but I don't have it now. Power 12. Best Shot 13. I do not have Superman 4. No Way Out 14. Split Decisions I have 15. Bat 21 16. Mississippi Burning 17. The Package 18. Postcards from the Edge 19. Narrow Margin is a great movie 20.
Yes,
if you guys haven't seen it, with Anne Archer, where he's an agent taking her back. She's a witness in a state case. Absolutely fantastic film. Watched it again recently. So we got to Narrow Margin and I got to 20. So, and I said, I reckon I've got at least 30. So let's keep going. Don't have Class Action. Unforgiven 21. The Firm 22. Geronimo 23. White Earp 24. Quick and the Dead 25. Crimson Tide 26. Get Shorty 27. I don't have Birdcage. Extreme Measures 28. Absolute Power 29. There's The Chamber. That's the one that Matt mentioned. It was also based on a Grisham. So he was right. Yeah. I don't have a physical copy of that. Ants, I've got 29. Enemy of the State 30. Under Suspicion, I've got 31. Behind Enemy Lines, I've got 32. Runaway Jury 33. So I've got 33 Gene Hackman films.
I was ticking those off myself, and I got 17 of them. So
there you go.
Yeah.
So
very impressive.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll probably wrap it up there as it's coming up to 10-1 in the UK. But we'll go round and I'll let everybody have a final thought. Bit like, Jerry Springer's final thought for the night. And if you want to plug anything at the same time, do that. So just what I want to say is this. This cannot be overstated. There is no other single individual in the industry from the beginning of my life to now who has not had more influence in terms of the films I've gone to see, the reason I got interested in acting, subsequently the reason that I got interested in directing, the reason that I wanted to make films. And then he was always, of all the people, once I started going in that career, my first actor that I loved was Richard Burton, but he had passed away by 1984. So by the time I was going into the industry, which was the early 90s, Gene Hackman was always the one person I wanted to have on my set, because I knew if I had got Hackman in a film, I would have made it. And not only that, I just thought, if I want to be in this industry, I've got to work with the best, and he is the best. And I knew that he would bring the best out of me. Unfortunately, that was a career goal that was sadly never realised. But when he did announce his retirement, I did get off my arse immediately, and I wrote to him. I wrote him a very long, quite passionate letter. It was about 3 pages of A4. I got it physically. I typed it out, physically got it printed, and sent 3 copies. 1 to his manager, 1 to his agent, and I sent 1 copy to his wife via her boutique furniture store, to ensure that he got this letter, because I knew that the agents would just chuck it in the bin. And the gist of the letter was, I know that we're not going to get to work together now, but I wanted to thank you for being the person who inspired me to get into the industry. Thank you so much for the body of work that you've given me among these films. And I probably, rolled off a list of about 15 movies, are my favourite films of all time. And I can't thank you enough for giving me the memory and the experience of seeing those movies. They'll stay with me forever. That's pretty much what I said in the letter. That's exactly what I mean now. And the only thing that takes the sting out of finding out about his passing today is that his work will be around forever, as long as we're still here and we can still access it. So, and he has got multiple credits that I will rewatch again and again and again. There are so many films of his that I could stick on at any time and just go, yeah, I fancy watching that today. Over a dozen. I don't think there's any other actor I can say that about, that have got quite so many credits. There's loads of other actors I admire, but I don't think
Well,
there's, yeah.
well done, Lance, and well said.
Yes.
So that's my Lancey Springer final Gene Hackman thought of the day. I'll plug our up and coming shows at the very end. Blue, your final thoughts.
Yeah, like so many actors, he was in before my generation, but that's the beauty of film. I deal with my kid all the time just because Hackman was very active before I was born. I can go back and watch his filmography, and I do it with my son all the time. I love watching films from the 60s and 70s. And as you said, Lance, these films transcend my lifetime or anybody's, and they're never going anywhere, hopefully. But yeah, it's that he was 93 years old, so it's like he had a very excellent life. Good thing we didn't lose him too soon. His filmography stands for itself, and yeah, for everybody, it's kind of it is slowly generations are changing. People keep saying the whole death of a movie star, like Tom Cruise. Is Tom Cruise the last movie star? Because Hackman, right there was a time where Hackman would sell seats. I mean, he would sell tickets, and it's because you knew when you were going to see a Hackman film, you knew what you're getting. Even if it wasn't a great film, you know the performance that he was going to give you. And unfortunately, now it's like people, man, so many actors are just phoning it in, just cashing a paycheck. I mean, and as I said before, Hackman, even if he was just cashing a paycheck, by his performance, you wouldn't have known it. Yeah, that means there's not much more you can say about it. Just rest in peace. And I do hope for family and friends they get the definite answer what happened, because like people said, you hate the whole like what ifs and conspiracy theories and shit. Nobody wants to go through that. People want closure.
Yeah. I mean, I hope there aren't suspicious circumstances. I mean, I've got to keep an open mind, because I always get worried when the police come out so soon and say something like that, and within a few hours later, there's facts that clearly would, you would have had to have been really stupid to have made that announcement that quickly. Just I never would have, I wouldn't have made any announcement for at least another 48 hours in terms of what we're calling this. But I hope it doesn't turn out to be, some people wanted to off him early for inheritance or something like that. I really hope it's not that.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Blue. Inside Man.
I mean, there were so many actors of his generation that were very, very fine actors, very, very good actors, and in some cases, great actors. But I genuinely feel that Gene Hackman was the greatest actor of his generation. I really do feel that. I mean, it's such a profound loss. I think that so many people are going to feel. I mean, we obviously feel it very, very keenly, but certainly not as keenly as Blue said, as his friends and family. But as we say, they've been immortalized on screen. So we have access to watching them and hearing them, and watching these incredible performances that. And I think Blue said this really quite eloquently, that they have given to us. This is a gift that it's thanks. We can't even begin to thank these people for the kinds of performances that they've given to us, that they've gifted us. That have given us so much enjoyment, and in some circumstances, pain, laughter, fear, and every emotion that you can possibly think of. And that's the mark of a great actor. And as I say, I really do think that he was the greatest actor of his generation. And I don't think we're ever going to see this kind of person again. I think they're you know,
Yeah, I would be hard pushed to think of an actor who's in their 40s or 50s now who has the same range, presence, and caliber as Hackman. There are definitely some who are in the playing field. I would say Josh Brolin is a pretty strong.
Oh yeah.
Of his generation, he's definitely proven over the years. You know, this guy who played the dumb hunk from the Goonies. You know, look at the range and body of his work now. It's quite incredible. So he's up there. I wouldn't
earning
say he's up there earning it. I wouldn't say he's at Hackman's level yet, but he, you know, by the end of his career, he may well be. So there are some people that are punching well in their weight class.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean,
but there's not many. I mean, I'd be, you know, he was the first one that came to mind. I'd struggle to think of another 5.
Yeah, I mean, this type of actor, certainly not. One of the things that I love about him, or still love about him, is the fact that, like me, he was quite curmudgeonly. You know, I'm quite proud of calling myself a curmudgeon.
Inside Man models himself on the grumpiness of Hackman. Just
absolutely,
so you know,
I love his curmudgeonliness. I just and I don't think that we have enough curmudgeonly actors. That, you know, whenever they get on a set, they're in a sudden grip of a rather large grump.
Mate, you make up for it in my life, trust me.
But yeah, he's going to be missed. But in a lot of ways, you know, we're not going to miss him because we're still going to see him whenever we put that disc in our player. Yeah, long live physical media.
You know, real quick to Inside Man, I just realized he hasn't made a film in 20 years. He retired 20 years ago, so he hasn't been an active actor. And my kid knows who this man is. My kid's 17. So I'm just saying
that says a lot about his legacy and the quality of the work he's left behind. Procto, final thoughts?
Well, especially like after hearing about it this morning, throughout the day, I've been kind of looking through his filmography list and was honestly kind of shocked by the sheer volume of it and how much of it I haven't seen yet.
There's still a few films of his that I haven't seen. I mean, Loose Cannons isn't one I'm going to be rushing to watch, but I think there are a couple of good ones that I haven't seen as well. So
yeah. But like in these modern times, one of the big complaints is about the poor quality of writing, acting, etc. And I suppose the one silver lining to this tragedy is that it has given me a reason to look back on his work and appreciate how much of it I am I'm completely ignorant of, and give me that much more reason to explore it. Because clearly he's got some quality stuff, and that's what I've been looking for a while.
Well, if any of the ones that we mentioned today, you haven't
I ordered
seen.
like 6 Blu-rays while we were talking.
Oh my god! Well
done.
What tell us what 6 did you order?
Let's see. Crimson Tide, Unforgiven, French Connection. What was the other ones? Mississippi Burning, and
I don't know if you ordered the package, but if you can get the package, well worth getting. Worth getting. Yeah, the package. Good action movie. Hackman at his finest. Great film.
Oh yeah, it was Under Fire.
That's also you're not gonna be disappointed in that. Nick Nolte's finest performance as well, I would say.
He's getting that. He's very good in that.
Funnily enough, by the way, I've been trying to track down the kid that played Alvin in the Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah,
you know, this is his sister on the bottom left here, because he's. I think him and her are the only 2 leading cast of the Poseidon Adventure who are still alive now. I think everybody else has passed. I'm not sure about the blonde lady who plays the singer. I'd need to check, but everybody else has gone. So, I've been. Yeah, he was a child actor that was in a couple of big movies. He was also, I think he's the same kid that's in Towering Inferno, as well. And I've been trying to track him down and see if I could get him on for an interview, because that would be really great if I could.
Yeah.
Thanks, Procto. Adam Gray, final thoughts.
It's hard to say anything that hasn't been said already, but
that's all right. You can say the same thing.
we lost a giant.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
He was
very much.
He was a workhorse. He was a presence. He was a craftsman, and I'm quite sad.
Yeah, mate. Listen, I broke down crying on the stream earlier today. So it's funny because
bless you.
Somebody who's been around in our film life, and we're all film nuts here, for this period of time, in so many things that we've loved so much. I said it earlier today. You feel like you're losing a distant relative. It's kind of weird that you haven't seen for a while, but you knew he was there. And of course, the weird circumstances make it that bit harder. But yeah, I hear you, man. But as we said, the work is going to be there. Last but by no means least, and proving that on this channel, ladies don't always get to go first. Babs, your final thoughts on Hackman?
Well, as you guys have all said so beautifully before me, we lost a great one today. And I think this quote from him is really telling of who he was, as not just as a person, as an actor, as a professional. This was from a 2011 GQ interview on how he'd like to be remembered. He answered, quote, "As a decent actor, as someone who tried to portray what was given to them in an honest fashion. I don't know beyond that. I don't think about that often, to be honest. I'm at an age where I should think about it." End quote.
Oh, I think that's
I think that's pretty telling as to who he was as a person, not just as a professional.
Very humble.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody here on this panel would say that we don't remember him as a decent actor. In fact, I think we would all agree.
I think he's
that we remember him as one of the finest actors who ever lived.
Yes.
And I don't think that's an overstatement at all. So the lights go dark on Gene Hackman. Take a final bow, sir, and rest well. You've certainly earned it. And it's been an honor to do a stream. I've done 3 streams about you within 4 weeks now, and you never know, there might be more. I could, as Barbara said earlier, I could quite happily spend all day talking about Gene Hackman. Thanks to everybody in the chat that tuned in. We had quite the buzzy audience earlier. If you are new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. Please do check out our industry interviews. Myself and the Inside Man will be on one of those coming up next. I think it's next Wednesday. We've got Wayne
Byrne.
We've got Wayne Byrne coming back on again, who's just written a book about the Halloween movies. He's a great movie biographer. He's actually the guy who set up my interview with David McGiffert, the first AD from all 3 Back to the Future films. Really lovely, very knowledgeable guy. He's got loads of wonderful stories. So we'll be getting him on coming back. And I've got a couple of other interviews lined up that I'm just waiting for confirmation dates on. On Sunday, myself and the Inside Man will be back on at 8 o'clock, assuming I'm not too hungover. And we'll be doing our stream about the 4 movies about the events at Entebbe in 1972. I want to say that it took place.
76.
Was it 76?
76. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
because I was living in Africa at the time.
I thought you were about to say because I was one of the commandos. Yeah, okay. No, I do remember you were living in Africa at the time, although we were, of course, not in touch at that moment, only in our past lives.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about. You're right. Sorry, you're going to be talking about the 1976 Israeli counter-terrorist mission in Entebbe, Uganda, which I've actually been to. There are 4 films that have been made on the subject, and myself and the Inside Man are going to take all of those apart and talk about what's good about them, what's not so good, and which one ultimately you should spend your time watching, if any. And then, of course, we'll be back on Tuesday with the Nielsen ratings at 10 p.m. And most Thursdays after open bar, you can usually expect me to do one of these, as long as I'm not feeling too poorly. But good news, I had a massive super duper X-ray today where I got stuck in a tunnel, one of those tunnel devices. Not like a tunnel in a car. I mean, I got
MRI,
MRI. Scan, but it was a scan of the lungs rather than of the brain. So hopefully they'll be able to tell me what's going on with my chest, and why I don't have massive boobs as planned. What's going on? So bit of self-effacing humor.
We'll microwave you long enough. Something's going to grow.
I'll get you through everything. Thanks everyone in chat. Steve Cassaboom, yeah, you're right. Absolutely was a legend. Great quote from Tom here, from Gene. I was trained to be an actor, not a star. I was trained to play roles, not do the fame, agents, lawyers, and the press. He was an actor, but he was an actor who became a star by default, and sadly, that star has now fallen. Well, thanks to everyone on the panel. Don't forget, if I do a late night with LANCEY, any YouTuber is always welcome to pop onto those. So if you see me on and it's at one of my late night streams, then you can just message me in the chat and I'll send you an invite. Do check out all of my panelist channels. Most of them have got one. Various people put up links to them earlier. I'll try and edit some in later and put them in the blurb down below. But that's it from us. Don't forget to tell the people that you care about that you love them, especially if you haven't spoken to them for a while. You don't want to be doing a wellness check on someone, so make sure you pick up the phone and talk to people that you care about. Give them a ring. All right, we'll speak to you all real soon.